Good morning, children. Hope you are enjoying your online classes, but I think so you are missing your school also. Well, children, today our topic is advantages and disadvantages of CSS. CSS, last time we have studied about cascade style sheet. It's a kind of applying rule on our work on website. As we know, children, CSS make our web page more attractive and more handy to use. So first we will see the advantages of applying CSS. Let's start. Students, the way your website looks and feels to its audience is a huge impact of the user experience offered on it. How come a user is finding your web page and how many times he has to go through it? Website owners leave no stone unturned in order to make their websites aesthetic, aligned with the functional part of it also. The most basic of these aesthetic related decisions is the implementation, advantages and disadvantages of CSS. And CSS allows us to set the format of website without changing the underlying structure, without disturbing the actual program. Students, our first advantage of CSS is CSS saves time. As we know, children, CSS is a kind of applying rule on our text, heading, paragraph. So if we want the similar kind of headings in the whole document, we apply a similar kind of heading or applying the similar kind of CSS on those all headings. Understood, children? So this way, every time we don't have to go to font, we don't have to go to background, we don't have to, only once we create the rule and then applying that rule like H1 on all the headings. It makes similarity. So it saves time. Let's consider an example. Let's say you run a website that has 40 pages or more. Due to the need for some strategic changes in the content of the website, you now need to change the text size from 14 point to 12 point. You are making it lesser or vice versa. So how much time do you think will it take for manually making the size changes to all those 40 pages or more? It will be taking a lot of time. This is where CSS comes into the scenario as a savior. You can then define the changes in a single CSS file and references all those 40 pages to the same file, and your work will be done. Your entire website will start reflecting the size changes of the font. Hope you understood, children. Students, second advantage of CSS is CSS helps to make spontaneous and consistent changes. Considering our own example from the first advantage above, imagine that you have to make more fluid changes to your content. Again, with the single style sheet, you will be able to ensure that the changes look uniform on all the pages and not botched up. If it were not for CSS, you would have to take notes of changes made to one page and reference it to while you make changes to another page. Means first you have done on first page, second you go to the same changes on second page, then third page, like that. So always going back and forth. Well, imagine the amount of exhaustion and brain activity that would be required to justify the consistency of these changes throughout. So however, with CSS, your changes are well applied consistently. Only once you create CSS, as I have given the example of heading, or you can go for the paragraph, just to make one CSS for paragraph and apply that paragraph changes to whole of your document. It takes a lot of time saving, plus the consistent change will be done. no disturbance at all. Hope you understood, children. Students, the third advantage of CSS is CSS improves page loading speed. Yes, as we know, CSS is the part of HTML. In HTML, if we are not creating CSS, then for every time, for every part of the document, we have to give some more extra coding to look it more attractive, to look it more emphasized, or to look it more understandable. That's why for saving all those things, we create CSS. And CSS also improves the page loading speed. Because of HTML coding, the page becomes very lengthy. In that case, CSS improves that the page is getting a bit light. Let's start. Code density on your website contributes to its speed. The more the codes, the slower the website gets. That means the more codes, the website will getting more slow. Visitors are quick to abandon or leave a website if it takes more than 2-3 seconds to load. Just a few lines of code is all that is required to make changes to a large number of pages on the website with CSS. Since there is minimum codes, the website database remains uncluttered. That doesn't get the cluttering. Thus, with eliminating any website loading issue, implementing CSS along with the choice of best website builder is a great way to keep visitors hooked or connected onto your website, as they won't have to wait up for your website to load. So it's an important and very beneficial advantage of CSS. Students, fourth advantage of CSS is device compatibility. CSS changes are device friendly, with the people using a whole lot of different range of smart devices like laptops, phones, mobile phones, tablets, or anything else like this. To access websites over the internet, there is a need for responsive web design. CSS serves the purpose here by making your web pages more responsive so that they end up displaying in the same manner on all devices. And due to CSS, web page will be loaded faster. Either it is a smartphone or it is a laptop or your desktop PC. Understood, children? Children, fifth advantage is CSS has the ability to reposition of web element. Like CSS lets you define changes in the position of the web elements presented on a page. With its implement, developers, program makers, or software makers can position HTML elements at the place they like in order to put or in order to align with aesthetic appeal of the page, or another same kind of consideration they can apply just due to CSS. Let's say the web designer's job is made easier as to change the style of an element. They can only need to make modification in CSS file and which is applied on the whole page, those modifications. You don't have to go line wise or paragraph wise or heading wise individually on the web page. Clear? Students, the last advantage of CSS is that it makes the search engine better crawl your web pages. Well, CSS is a secretly an SEO, search engine optimization enabler for your site. The truth is that the search engine bots yield inaccurate details when they crawl through the cumbersome heaps of HTML code or the lengthier pages which are constructed by the HTML codes. So, however, with the CSS, if it is in a place, the website design attributes are defined and there is less code due to CSS on the website, so making the website SEO friendly. means the website gets launched or gets open its page very faster. Using CSS makes website designing quick and efficient, interesting, attractive. We have to set the style for each element of web page only once in CSS, and CSS has less code compared to HTML, so which makes the loading of page much faster and doesn't bother much to the search engine. Understood? Children, up till now we have seen only the advantages of CSS, but it is true that it has its few of disadvantages also. Let's go to the first disadvantage. CSS has its many levels. Yes, the programming language world in itself is crazily complicated for non-developers or for newcomers or beginners. To add to that, different levels of CSS like CSS1, CSS2, CSS3 can be quite confusing for the mentioned lot here. Children, once they start, but in the beginning they get it a bit complications to apply with until they get used to of it. Second disadvantage or demerit of CSS is it's vulnerable. Means there is a possibility of being harmed or attacked, or what we can say disturbed. If you have worked with CSS, you probably know that it is easily accessible. You can easily open this because of its open text based system. One can easily open the rules of the CSS. An accident or a mere act of mischief with the files can end up disrupting the display and formatting of your entire website. It would only require a read or write access to the intended website to override the changes. So it's very easy to access children to get it disturbed or to get it harmed. So that is the disadvantage of CSS. Students, the third disadvantage of CSS is lack of security. In connection to the second disadvantage, same, it is lack of security here because it is an open text based system. CSS doesn't have the built-in security that will protect it from being overridden. That means anyone can make changes in your absence in your created style rules for your web page. Anyone who has a read or write access to a website can change the CSS file, can alter the link or disrupt the formatting, whether by accident or purposefully. Understood, children? So it has lack of security as in biggest disadvantage. So children, let's come to the conclusion. We have seen in above slides many advantages and few disadvantages of CSS. I hope you understood nicely. Well, implying in the context of advantages and disadvantages of CSS we talked about, it is fair to say that CSS gives power or CSS empowers a web designer or a web maker to make extensive great changes to web layout, to a web page lookout, to all those pages through a single file. It lets you design a light yet responsive website which is fast to load and great at impressing to the audience with its display. Hence, every website needs to have its fair share of CSS, regardless of many advantages and disadvantages of CSS. So, I hope children, you will use CSS in your web page. You can go through the all advantages and disadvantages once, create one small web page and use CSS. You will like it. Thank you. Share your experience of creating web page with CSS with me. Thank you.